I wanted to talk about a filmmaker who I've come to greatly appreciate over time for several reasons. And one of them is he's responsible for directing one of my all-time favourite films, but that's not the only reason. He's also done a fantastic film commentary, which is now possibly the best one I've ever heard. Before that, there was a commentary I heard by Ridley Scott on Alien, which was the best commentary I'd heard. But then I listened to this one on this director's film, 8mm, and the director is Joel Schumacher, and the commentary was absolutely amazing, you know, and it's now become my official favourite commentary, and I think it does actually outdo even Ridley Scott's. But Joel Schumacher is just one of these directors who was I've got a few of his films. Actually, I haven't got a few of his. I've got quite a few of his films, as a matter of fact. I've got nearly half a dozen, and he's just he's been called Hollywood's most frustrating filmmaker. Now, this is absolute cobblers. This is because the critics, who of course have called him that, don't know shit from Sherlock, quite frankly. They don't know what they're talking about. And if they're referring to films that he's actually messed up, well, that was the fault of the producers for giving him the job. Yes, I know he did Batman and Robin, which was a complete mess in terms of production values. But if they didn't want the films made that way, then they shouldn't have hired him to direct them, should they? So that's no fault of Joel's, that's just the way he wanted to do it. So that, as far as I'm concerned, is nothing to do with Joel Schumacher, and it certainly doesn't reflect his gift as a director. He is a brilliant film director, and from what I learned on this commentary, he has been in the film business, starting off, of course, not as a director, obviously, but as a costume designer or something, many years before. He had a really rough childhood, grew up in the streets and all this, that and the other, but yeah, from what I've learned about him, he's a quite incredible guy and a quite brilliant director. He's produced a few of the films, I think, that he's also made as well, so he does get involved quite heavily in the films that he actually does. And a lot of the films that he does have also been about, well, I suppose you could say they've been about madness, really, because of course he made Falling Down, which is my second all-time favourite. My actual all-time favourite is The Sixth Sense, but that's never mind that now. But yeah, before that, Falling Down was, and for damn good reason. It was such an amazingly well-made film, and it was a very brave film in some ways as well, because it was brutally honest, and it was very savage, and what started out as a very, very black comedy turned rather slowly into a very sinister thriller, really. And by the end, it was just completely different, which is one of the things I love about it. But yeah, Joel Schumacher became a star for me with that film, but many films he did after that. I mean, I've got Phone Booth, copy of Phone Booth, which was amazing, filmed in 11 days. And of course I've got 8mm, which was the second film. There's actually in my all-time top films, you know, 8mm is an absolutely cracking piece of work. And that was also one of the films that the critics said was disappointing. Well, disappointing in what way exactly? Just because it was about sex? I bet that's why they said it was disappointing. Just because anything to do with sex, anything to do with the dark side of the sex industry, they always balk at it, they always have a go at it, critics can't handle it, the people can't really handle it. So, but that takes nothing away from what really was a very, very well made and very dark thriller, but that's exactly why I love it. So, thumbs up to Joel Schumacher again. But yeah, he's just one of these directors who has really is someone I've just grown to admire more and more over recent years, actually. But and it would be great to meet him as well. I've heard him actually in a couple of interviews. Got a very level head on his shoulder, and he talks very well in interviews, and he's very informative, very interesting guy. And yeah, I'm amazed actually that he's now in his 70s. getting in his more later twilight years, I suppose. But it would be great to get the chance to meet the guy, I must admit. Possibly may never happen, but hey, you never know. But yeah, I just wanted to mention this about Joel Schumacher. I think he is an absolutely brilliant director, and in some ways rather overrated and maybe a little underappreciated. But a lot of the films he does, well, he's certainly made a lot of films that I greatly admire. So I suppose it's a case really of any chance, I'd like to buy you a beer, Joel. So yeah, keep up the great work. So yeah, just a director that I greatly admire, and I just hope that he carries on for a little bit longer. I hope his time doesn't come yet. But yeah, terrific filmmaker, and he deserves a hell of a lot of credit for the work that he's left behind. So yeah, well done, Joel Schumacher. I think you're a terrific filmmaker, and brilliant commentary on 8mm. You've even outdone the great Ridley Scott, so thumbs up for that too. Okay, see you later. Bye now.